So it is Sunday, June 6th. Excuse the voice, I'm a bit congested. Steven gave me something. Also, welcome to the last video with this exact background because we are moving on Tuesday, so that's super fun. You can tell exactly how much we're prepared for that by the fact that my bookshelves are still up. Also, if the video is tilted slightly, that is because my broken chair that I've been using as like a holder for my camera phone, whatever, has broken further, so that's super fun. Anyway, I read like 5 books this past week. First up, I finished rereading Gone by Michael Grant. Love Gone by Michael Grant. This is one of my favorite young adult series, or one of my favorite series of all time. Basically, Gone follows this town called Perdido Beach in California, and one day everybody over the age of 14, everybody 15 and up, disappears. And then kids are like developing powers, and there's a lot of murder, and this series is extremely dark for a children's series. I mean, Michael Grant worked on Animorphs, so if you dealt with that hellscape of moral quandaries, you know how dark he gets. But no, I love this series. I think it's so much fun. It is always so interesting to reread this first book and just know how all these characters end up, because character development is one thing that the series does so fucking well. But yeah, I love this reread. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a good time. Then I read Kitty and the Midnight Hour by Carrie Vaughn. This is a first book in a paranormal romance series. It actually was surprisingly good. I was expecting it to be awful, but this follows a werewolf lady who is also a radio show host, and she starts this radio show where she talks to other paranormal creatures. There were some weird, questionable things concerning her werewolf pack stuff, but that was all kind of challenged and taken care of by the end, so I did like that. Yeah, I mean, it was not near bad at all. Normally when I think of these adult paranormal romances, I really expect it just to be awfully written sex. And there was a little bit of sex, but it was very much glossed over. It was very much more about what was happening. So I could appreciate that. I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. It was not bad at all. Then I read In the Time of Dinosaurs by K.A. Applegate, mentioning Animorphs. This is one of the Megamorphs books. This is Megamorphs number 2, which were kind of just like bigger special edition almost kind of books. But this one, so the Animorphs series was a children's book series about these kids who ended up getting the power to morph into different animals, and they're fighting this war against these parasitic aliens that crawl into your ear and take over your brain, called the Yerks. And like I said, this series does get very dark. And this one, if you can guess, they go back to the time of the dinosaurs. They go back in time. And there's legitimately a scene in this book where you got two kids trapped in the stomach of one of the giant swimming dinosaurs because it ate them, and one of them turns into a bear and rips her way out of the thing's stomach in graphic, because these books are fucking dark. It's fantastic. I mean, my entire childhood was kind of formed by these books. These books were some of these, plus the Warrior Cats back here, were some of the main ones that I really, really loved. And I just, even as an adult, like I say, it just fucking baffles me how dark these books were allowed to be, because have so many. This book too has one of those big moral quandaries at the end, and it was definitely very interesting. I should be reading these in order, but I'm not, so I gave it 4 or 5 stars, I don't remember. Then, in another kind of surprising twist, by how good a book was, I read The Clockwinder by Ann Tyler. This is a book, a very kind of domestic-y book. It follows this family, the Emersons, and they get a female handyman comes in, and she kind of shakes up their life. And it's very kind of hard to explain because not much does really happen plot-wise, and I don't want to spoil anything because any of the big events, it's such a quiet, lazy book that anytime a big event happens, it really shocks you, and I don't want to spoil you by mentioning any of the big events because I wasn't expecting them to happen. But this was really a character study, a family study, and it was really very good. I mean, honestly, I got attached. It did almost make me cry near the end there, and it was definitely a good surprise, I would say. I did really, really enjoy my time reading it. I thought it was very quiet and nice, and I did very much enjoy it. The writing is very good. The I gave it, I think, 4 or 5 stars. Again, I don't really remember, but yeah. And then probably my least favorite book of the week, I did finally finish Mor'dresh Call of Darkness by Viktor Strangeways. This is a fantasy book. It was on my Kindle, so I'll put up the picture right there. It's a guy who gets turned into a rock, and then he goes and he ends up in this thing with a sword, and then these people dig up the sword, and the thing that I had a big problem with this one, and this might have been different if I had read it all in one go, if it didn't take me like 3 months to read, because that's the problem with reading books on my Kindle, is it takes me 10 fucking years to read them, because I don't tend to pick up my Kindle. I like my physical books a lot more. So like I'll read a chapter, like maybe 3 chapters a week, and then it takes me 7 years to finish a book. But this one, it did feel like it was just going around in circles. Like every single plot point was just the same plot point as right before. It just kept going and going and going and going, doing the same things, expecting different results. And it was just kind of dull. Yeah, the writing wasn't bad, but again, the writing was kind of dull too. It felt kind of pretentious and weird, and I wasn't a huge fan of it. But yeah, I think I gave it 3 stars. It was kind of meh. Like I said, I don't know how much of this is the fault of the fact that it was on my Kindle, because I just can't. I think I did enjoy, thinking about books I've read on my Kindle, I did enjoy Fantastic Land, and that one I did read pretty fast. But other than that, every book I've read on my Kindle has been kind of like, just because it's on my Kindle. But yeah, currently I've not started anything new on my Kindle yet. I am reading Deeper by Roger Gordon and Brian Williams. This is the 2nd book in the Tunnel series. I read the series when I was a kid. I'm like 200 pages in. Yeah, like I said, the series that I read when I was a kid, just kind of reread there. These are the books I read this past week. That is all I have for today. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.